What's up, everybody? I'm Stephanie Raffelock.
And I'm David Yakir.
And you're listening to Yak About Today. This is a place to hear conversation, gain insights and perspectives from the mouths of baby boomers. So if the years 46 to 64 mean something to you, then this is the place that you want to be. So put on your headphones, go for a walk, and listen to what we yak about today.
Hey, Steph. How are you?
Oh, David, I'm good. I have had such an interesting week.
I know. You have a big day today, I think it is. Tell us.
I do have a big day today. I'm going to be giving a presentation, albeit virtual, to the women of Charles Schwab. So this is a national keynote, and I'm really excited to be talking with these ladies. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so great. Can I listen? Or is it only
no.
Ladies?
No, you can't listen because it's contained within Charles Schwab. So it will be for their format and their group. And yeah, it's going to be a good time.
I'm excited.
The other thing that's gone on this week,
Go ahead.
I have to tell you one more thing, is I am doing a book blog tour through the great state of Texas. Now, I have never done a book blog tour, and I had no idea what to expect. But every day I'm hosted by a website that either reviews me or runs one of our podcasts or an interview. And I interact with writers throughout the state of Texas. And it has been absolutely lovely. You know, people from the South, there is something to that whole thing about Southern hospitality. And I have been shown that in spades this week. It has been absolutely lovely. So that's my big news for the week. Charles Schwab and my book blog tour through Lone Star Literary book blog tours this past week. Tons and tons of fun.
I'm so excited. I wish I could do that with you. But
I wish you could.
So be it. First of all, I'm not a woman, at least not yet. And so anyway, that's really exciting. So I'm doing currents today.
Yes.
And you're going to have to bear with me. You know how sometimes I'm all over the place. So I'll tell you what my topic is. Obviously, the first part of this is really relevant, and that is masks. And I know everybody's tired and sick of talking about wearing masks, but actually I'm doing two pieces, and I titled Currents, Masks and the American Flag. And I'm hoping that I can make the connection between the two. And if I don't, I'll erase it and re-record this or do it a different time. Anyway, I want to talk about masks first. And we know everybody talks about it as being political. So I went sort of digging a bit, and aside from being political, and we know that in every survey they're saying that Democrats are more likely to wear masks than Republicans, although it's not that different. I think something like 93% of Democrats will wear masks and only 75% of Republicans. And those are very big numbers on both sides. So I'm not sure how political this thing, probably just political in the news and by our leadership. Ultimately, only a third of people are wearing masks. And women are more likely to wear masks than men. I was looking at why that is. And men don't wear masks because masks show worry and concern about one's health. And men are brought up not to show that, which is also the reason men never go to doctors. So there's sort of an interesting connection there. When I was thinking about it, and I don't know how I made this connection, I started thinking about walking around the neighborhood, and so many houses had the American flags in front of them. Do the people that show the American flag, are they different than those that don't? I kept thinking back, you know, when I was young, being sort of a first generation immigrant, we were taught by our parents that the American flag was everything, that we really should pledge allegiance because we're so lucky to have come to America. So the flag had special meaning to me my whole life, although I only showed the American flag on our houses on the holidays, Memorial Day and Labor Day. And now certain people show the flag all the time. And I was wondering, is it like masks that have different reasons for showing the American flag? So I did a survey. And in my survey, I talked to some of the neighbors. I picked out the ones that had the American flag out, and many do because this neighborhood is decidedly conservative and Republican, although I have a sense that this election, they may be doing something different than they used to. But so I asked, and this is what I found out. This is my personal survey. It's not scientific, and it means nothing. So as you suspect, Republicans are more likely to hang or show the flag than Democrats. Men wanted to hang the flag more than the women did. Democrats think that the flag represents the highest ideals of the American, of all our values. And Republicans think that the flag represents the country. And it was so interesting because I thought there was a similar dynamic there. With masks also, how we decide to do things. And it all comes down to, masks come down to politics in many ways. The flag came down to politics in many ways. So I thought that was interesting. But I looked even further. And I know this is going to sound strange, but most people don't know anything about the flag. Not the whole Betsy Ross thing, whether she did or she didn't, but the things that, how the American flag is supposed to be treated, how we respect it, what the rules are. I wanted to inform my neighbors that you're really not supposed to have the American flag flying overnight with a light on it. It's supposed to be raised in the morning and taken down at sunset, and it should be hoisted and lowered ceremoniously, and no other flag is allowed to be above it. If you have another flag like the United Nations flag, they should be equal. I learned a word. They kept saying other flags on the same halyard. Have you heard that word before?
I've never heard the word halyard.
A halyard is a rope used for raising and lowering a sail or a flag. So that's a halyard. So everything I spoke to just got me to the definition of halyard. Anyway, that's my currents. I hope it made sense. I thought it was interesting. I don't know why it spurred my interest to see if the American flag was like masks, they had a political divide. But that's what I found out.
So I think there's less of a divide there than there is a unification. Like you said, the numbers on who's wearing masks, it's really high on both sides. And so it does beg the question, is it more of what we're seeing in the media? Is the media part of the divisiveness as well as the politics? I live in a state that is fairly conservative, red state, but here it doesn't matter. It's like I see, well, of course it's a mandate now, but even before it was a mandate, in my world, I rarely saw someone without. So I think that's good. And the flag, interesting. My husband and I never owned an American flag until we moved to Texas. I think it comes with living in Texas. Right. But our neighbors proudly displayed the flag on Memorial Day and July 4th. And so we have like one of those little holders that kind of came with the house. Mm-hmm. It's like screwed into the column outside. So we bought an American flag, which we put up on the 4th of July and we put up on Memorial Day. And, I'm proud to have it flying. But and you know what else it reminded me of? Your current event. It reminded me of junior high school when there was a flag guard that were like the 3 or 4 boys that went out and they raised the flag. Mm-hmm. What was that called? On the halyard?
Halyard,
is that the right word?
The rope was the halyard.
Okay, the rope was that. And they would raise the flag, and there was always a big ceremony of like when you lowered the flag at the end of the school day and you carefully folded it in this kind of triangle form. And that's what it reminded me of when you said, here's the ceremony, the way the ceremony and the ritual was supposed to take place. So I liked hearing that. I just liked hearing it, that I don't think that loving this country and loving the flag has anything really to do with being a Democrat or a Republican. I think that we all love our country. And I remind myself of that because these times are so divisive. And I look for the things where we really hold the same intention, for lack of a better word.
Right.
We may disagree on how to get there, but we agree on, I think, more than we think we do.
There was one conversation that actually I deleted from my notes. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'd like to share. So I was talking to one of our more progressive neighbors who won't hang the flag until the current administration is out, because he feels that America is not living up to its values right now, and he doesn't want to tarnish his view of the flag. In other words, when there's a different administration, or, I guess one that he agrees more with, he will proudly hang the flag. But right now, he's embarrassed to hang the flag. And I sort of didn't want to bring that up because I think it was an outlier conversation that I had. But it was interesting. And of course, he said that he didn't like the way the right absconded with the flag, which I thought was an interesting
well,
comment.
it's a different perception than the one that I hold. I just think that Democrats, Republicans alike love this country. And I think where we've really got to start healing ourselves is we need to start seeing what unites us rather than what divides us. And I think love of country is one of the things that unites us. So I don't feel the same way. I'm not crazy about this administration. I never have been, but it doesn't change how I feel about the representation of the American flag. And it doesn't change how I feel about democracy and whether or not I stand for that. So I will stand for that, for democracy, for our flag and what the symbol of that, regardless of who's in the White House. And I think more people are kind of on that side of things than not.
I think I agree. So we'll leave it there. All right. So we'll take a break now. And what year?
2014.
All right. This one caught me by surprise. We'll be right back. I'm David Yakir with Stephanie Raffelock. You're listening to Yak About Today. Hey guys, if you've been listening to Yak About Today, then you know it is sponsored locally by New Vision Eye Center. And if you know me, then you know I wouldn't have a sponsor unless I thought that they were the best and I could put my name behind them. All you have to do is meet Doctors Minotti, Reinauer, Tate, and O'Brien to know that you are in the hands of some of the finest doctors around. So go see New Vision Eye Center. Tell them David from Yak About Today sent you, because I wouldn't trust my eyes to anyone else. Okay, we are back. I'm here with Stephanie, and 2014. So do you want to set the environment? Should I? How would you like to do that?
I was surprised at how much went on in 2014. Did you get that?
It blew me away. It just blew me away.
Absolutely. So I can't list all of them, but I'm going to pick the two that stand out the most for me, just as kind of like the things that happened. One is that there was a great pandemic that had horrible potential going on. Ebola in 2014. And boy, holy crapola, Batman, what a difference an administration makes.
That's true.
So that was one thing. The other thing from that year that I just sometimes still can't shake was the death of Robin Williams, who I absolutely adored in so many different ways. He was not only one of the great comedic minds, he was truly a great actor.
Great.
I mean, he did some amazing stuff that, wasn't comedic necessarily. Good Will Hunting remains one of my favorite movies. So that's what was going on in current events in 2014. Personally, for me, 2014 was a year of great transition because I stopped working full time and started working part time. I started navigating the waters of retirement. What? Now what do I do? Who am I without the identification of like work all the time? And the who am I question, I think for people that are on the verge of retirement is a huge one. We all need a vision for each area of our life. My husband and I moved in 2014 to Oregon, thinking that this was going to be our idyllic last place, home in the mountains and the hills of Oregon. And we only ended up staying about 3.5 years. There were some things that kind of pushed us out of Oregon. It wasn't the place that we had hoped it was going to be for us. And I don't mean anything negative about that. But 2014, big time of transition. And also the year that I committed to really being a writer. For the first time in my life, I finally had some extra time to sit down and write every day. And that resulted in a book this last year entitled A Delightful Little Book on Aging.
Where have I heard that before?
You have heard of that before. So give me your 2014, David.
I will. I just want to make a mention. Robin Williams lived in Marin County next door to a good friend of mine. And used to see him come and go. And I was one of those fans that would always say, big fan, big fan. That would annoy somebody. And tell what a big fan I was. All right, just to add to that, there were a couple of other things that I picked out that also caught me by surprise how important that year was. And that was the Malaysian Airlines went down, the flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. And this was another thing that's really relevant today. That was the riots that broke out as a result of the, police shooting in Ferguson of Michael Brown.
Wow.
So that was a big deal. And, that was, I guess, toward the beginning of what's happening today. And also, one last thing that we had always hoped for, and that was Obama made a landmark announcement declaring that the U.S. would begin restoring diplomatic relations with Cuba. As far as personally, that was the start of Yak About Today in 2014.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's right. That's when I had made 2 guest appearances at the radio station talking about technology, and they asked me if I wanted to do a technology show. And I said, sure, I'd like to gear it toward baby boomers, since they have the most difficulty with the technology. And they said, great. And for the first 2 years, I did a show called Yak About Tech. And then as the show grew and the audience grew, they came to me and said, why don't you expand the show, into sort of anything that, want to talk about. So I renamed it Yak About Today. And now I can honestly say it was never as good as the show I'm doing with you.
Aw, that is really sweet and wonderful and fun to hear.
Right. So that's 2014. I guess we'll take a break. And somebody's been doing a lot of thinking, and it ain't been me. So
it's been me.
We'll take a break.
Don't talk back.
Okay, and we're back. I'm David Yakir with Stephanie Raffelock. You're listening to Yak About Today. And there's only one person that really does any thinking about here, and that's you. So tell me what you've been thinking.
Well, I have been thinking, David. I've been thinking about fear and hope and how wide the chasm between the two of them can be in these times. Now, as a one-time dancer, I know that all movement has to do with either contraction or expansion. Twyla Tharp writes about this in her recent book, Keep It Moving. When you don't move, the body goes into a contracted state, and the mind and heart are soon to follow. Now, that's a great metaphor. Fear is a contracted state, and hope is an expansive state. And we have lots of legitimate things to fear right now. And I don't feel like denying our fears with positive platitudes is very helpful. But along with acknowledging our fears, we have to keep reminding ourselves not to lose sight of hope. Hope is expansive. It challenges us to reimagine our lives and reimagine the world. Our minds can run away with fear, or our minds can run away with hope. Here are some hopeful things that I've seen and heard in the past week. And listeners, I hope that you'll take them to heart and build on them. 1, we don't have a vaccine for COVID-19 yet, but we're getting more therapeutics that help to treat it and mitigate its harsher effects. 2, reimagination is the word of the year as far as I'm concerned. I'm watching a friend right now reimagine and reinvent her business. It's part survival and it's part inspiration. Millions of Americans are engaged in a similar activity right now. They're engaged in a process of reimagining, reinvention, and repurposing their lives. Everyone that I know, and this is number 3, is reading more, and that's always good. I've been reading everything from some psychology to my guilty pleasure, romance novels, and I especially enjoy a romance novel in the hammock in my backyard. 4, the summer sky is still vast and blue. Sky gazing doesn't cost anything and often leads to the new and creative ideas that we need so much right now. And 5, finally, I love the American people. This goes along with our theme throughout this show. I know that we're the ones that are going to create the lemonade from the ton of lemons that's been dumped on us. My faith is in my neighbors, my friends, and my family, all of whom are looking for ways to unify and relate with each other. So, it's okay to be scared. Like I said, we all have really good reasons for that. But don't forget to hope. Don't forget to look for the small good things, the little bits of grace and gratitude that still fill our lives. Let the people that you love know it. Say it out loud to them again and again. So you know what? I love you, listeners. I love you because you are part of this great American family, and I believe in us. My greatest hope is in you and of you. We're all going to get through this thing together and be okay. Thanks for listening. That's what I've been thinking.
What an extraordinary way to end the show. Thanks, Steph.